We've got two really great real-life motorsports inspired builds for this car, so strap in, let's get going. Hi, welcome back to the Let's Build series. This car's only available for 2 more days, so I thought I'd squeeze this in before the promised episode to hopefully inspire you to buy one if you don't have one already. I love the car, I love the tail-happy handling, I love the noise that it makes. Highly recommended. Also highly recommended is the Goodwood Road and Racing YouTube channel. I'm on there a lot, to be honest. I'm a fan of historic car racing. There's so much good stuff on there, especially the revival and the members meeting. I highly recommend it. I'm going to leave a link below to the channel itself. Well, a few years ago I saw Laura Kraihamer racing in one of the races, I don't remember which, and she had this Mercedes 300 SL. So that's the one we're going to build first. So getting the car into the workshop, always put your armour at 100%, I say this every time. I'm not worried about the performance modifications, so we'll move straight onto the bumpers. Now sadly we can't do anything with the front bumper, it's simply not there, which is great for this build. And for the back bumper we want to delete the back bumper, and that is there, thank goodness. The exhaust should be a lot further back and lower down in the sills of the car, so I don't think it really matters what you do with them. I would just say pick the one that you like the look of. The most, I've left it purely as the stock exhaust. Onto the grille, it really affects the spot lamps. We want the twin rally lamps because you'll see there are 2 extra lights on Laura's car. Now down onto the hood, where I find myself a little conflicted. When you saw it on the intro, it had a smooth hood, but in reality the 300 SL does have 2 very distinctive raised portions on the hood. The only trouble in the game is if you select those raised portions, you have to have inlets at the front, which are wrong. So it's the lesser of the 2 evils, really. I think on reflection, I will go for the evil of the twin inlets, and I will have the 2 ridges. I want a black bonnet, so I'm going to go with the carbon hood, and I always take carbon if available because it doesn't pick up any of the pearlescent that you might be using later if you select a metallic. Probably best just to leave the lights as standard with the OG yellowy lights. If you don't own the car yet, you may not know that one of these strengths is all the liveries that you can have on the car. So let's run down these for this first build. We start with lots of stripes. Now I'm not sure I've seen many of these with stripes on, but they are there, which is great. And then we have a number of racing liveries, for example, just simple roundels stuck on the side, which you could imagine for an occasional racing car. 277, that's a reference to the Stirling Moss one. I'm not so sure. I don't tend to do these rusty builds as such, but then we come on to a few more decent ones, which is not the camo. But the Alpine Tourer looks good. Drag Monster we're going to use, and Pendulous Racing is the one we're going to put on now because that's the one that feels closest to Laura's livery to me. For the respray, just hit the car with a metallic silver. And you want a classic black secondary, although for some reason mine seems to be on metallic black. You can see it affecting the roll cage. What you can't see is it's also the colour of the hood or the bonnet on the car. For the roll cage, just take the rally cage and modifications. That ensures that you get some tape across the headlights. It's not the right colour for us, but at least we do get it. I don't know if any cars have ever had this roof spoiler, but we don't want it. And whilst the rear spoiler options are more tasteful, we don't want those. Competition suspension does look about right on average for this car. We want some nice steel wheels, so straight into the street category, retro steely, and they look really good. There's a nice dish to those as well. Paint them black and make sure that you do your bulletproof tyres. Otherwise, just remember no window tints on old cars or racing cars, and this is both. Our second build is not what you think of the 300 SL as. It's a drag racer build. Bob Sirna's car is used on the Bonneville salt flats. So that's how the car was in last year's garage tour, so let's rebuild it back as that. But I'll show you this time some options that you didn't see on the deep dive. Move straight down to the bumpers. Now Bob has the chrome bumper front and back, and we can't do that. So we will have the back bumper and we'll leave the front as it is. It's the same story with the exhaust. It's really up to you. There's only these 3 similar options. On grille, we can remove those extra driving lamps which we don't need. we can also remove the carbon hood, because on Bob's car it's simply painted silver, and you can now see the secondary colour, so you'll have to wait for the paint. The Drag Monster livery, this is Rockstar's copy of Bob Sirna's livery, which is fantastic, which is what makes this such a convincing build. So we pop on Drag Monster, down to the respray, and as I say, secondary colour also goes to silver now. You'll see why I'm conflicted with the bonnet or the hood now, because those two little intakes that shouldn't be there are rather more obvious. As I say, you'll have to go for a smooth hood if you want to get rid of them. Pick the safari cage because you get red on the headlamps, which is right, and you get some protecting bars on the windscreen. Otherwise, there's not a lot to do. The suspension remains as competition, and for the wheels, they can still stay as steely wheels, but we want to have them silver, and I think alloy overall looks a bit more silver than silver. So put them onto alloy. Of course, we're not touching the window, so that build's complete. There are some options, but let's look at this build in the sunshine first. Yeah, I think that looks very good, but the car is also built in different ways at different times. One of the ways it's done is by having red discs over the wheels, sometimes silver discs over the wheels. Well, we can replicate that by at least popping some red wheels on. The other alteration we make is to the hood, because there's plenty of builds where he has an enormous intake on the hood. It's so big, in fact, it's bigger than the ones available in GTA, and that doesn't happen very often. So if we whip down, you can see here the drag hood, as it's called. That's a clue that they meant this for Bob's car. And the primary drag hood, well, it's perfect, and you don't have to worry about those other little inlets because there's no option to get rid of those. Anyway, now like this, I think the car looks really good, and in fact I'm wishing perhaps it had been like this for the 2023 tour with the drag hood on as well, and I think I would commend this build therefore very highly. Well, there you go, two very easy yet very effective builds on this car to give you a true historic race car for your collection. If there's any other car you'd like me to build in the Let's Build, please suggest it down below. It can either be a GTA car and you just say build what you like, or it could be something a bit more specific. If you've enjoyed or been inspired by this episode, please do hit the like button. It would really help me grow this small channel just that little bit more. And of course, if you like real cars in GTA, well, do subscribe. It's what the channel is all about. Before I go, I'm going to recommend one of my favourite races of the entire year, every year at Goodwood. I've also linked below this year's, which is the St Mary's Cup Part 1. Loads of famous race drivers in some 1950s saloon doing battle on the track. It is so much fun. I really recommend 20 odd minutes of your time to watch that one. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.